Hello and welcome to Young Climber. My name is Nelly Somakanya, and today we have provided a platform whereby we bring you industry experts, people in our society that have made meaningful strides. And this is the kind of inspiration that you need back there at home so that you know how to chart your course in the journey of success. Today I am seated down here with Mr. Lwazi Dlamini from the Central Bank, who is the lead specialist communications. Mr. Lwazi, welcome on the show today.
Thank you so much. I'm so privileged to be here today.
That's so exciting and amazing. Nkosi, can you please just give us a brief background about yourself? Where do you come from? The family upbringing, and all the whole setup of the family.
All right, Lwazi Ian Dlamini was born at Nzavane, and I relocated to Skangeni, where I grew up with my grandmother and grandfather. And I am the only child to my mother and father. And I discovered this when I was in Form 4, that I've only got step sisters and step brothers. So I grew up there at Sikangeni and then moved to Matapa for my high school.
So you grew up in the rural area of Sikangeni, and also I believe you attended primary school there. I'd love to understand, how did you manage to get a first class with merit from there? How is that even possible?
Well, at the age of 3 years, I developed a severe eye allergy. And that eye allergy resulted in me, when I was now in school, in missing a lot of classes. And that meant I needed to catch up with other students when I got back to school. And that in me created a hard worker who ensured that I needed to do extra for me to be able to catch up with the other pupils in class. And I remember that when I was doing my grade 5, I decided, because I wasn't a top performer, so in my first 4 grades, I was not even in the top 10. But I made a decision that I want to excel. And there was a catch in this excellence of mine, because I said, if I can get position 3 or below that, 2 or 1, I can then go to my father and I ask him a question, which of course I did. So I was in grade 5, I got position 3, through my hard work. And I went to my father and I asked him, so if I was to get a first class with merit in grade 7, would you take me to the boarding school? Okay. And my father said, yes, he would, because I think my conviction was that for me to be successful, I need to go to the urban areas. So now that decision that I made, I was 10 years of age there, that I needed to work hard. So after my dad told me that you will be able to go to an urban school if you get a first class with merit, then I started working hard. I would write compositions and submit them to my teachers, extra compositions. I started answering past exam papers when I was doing grade 6.
That's really exciting, Kosi. Reflecting on your primary and high school years, I'd love to know what sparked your interest in communications, and were you actively involved in public speaking or maybe some clubs that were there in your early years?
Not at all. In primary, we didn't have clubs, debates. Even when I went to high school, to Swazi National High School, we didn't have clubs that would encourage me maybe to communicate. But there's something significant that I'd like to bring to the listener and the viewer, is that when I was doing Form 2, I started writing. And I wrote one article, which, by the way, I still have to this day. And the article was titled, How to Live a Free and Happy Life. So I wrote it. It was a 1-pager. And it had a nice graphic at the top right, and written Ian Dlamini. Okay. So when I did that article, I thought I was just writing to myself, but then I decided to share it with other classmates, and they said they loved it, and somebody said they wanted a copy of their own. So what I did then, I said, no, I can't lose this copy. So I decided to do a transfer. So copied from my article, wrote another one, and then I gave it to the classmate. So I believe that that was my launch of my career in the communications. Back then I didn't know what I was doing, but I think that sort of inspired me to start thinking around languages and all of that.
All right, that's exciting. So during your time at the University of Eswatini, you majored in public relations and advertising. How did your academic focus, shape your professional journey?
After completing my high school at Swazi National High School, I applied at Waterford for the scholarship, but I didn't make it. Okay. So then I decided to apply at the University of Eswatini and then sat down with my father and I discussed with him what sort of a program would I pursue. And my father told me that he thinks I'm good at sciences, so perhaps I should apply for Bachelor of Science. But I said my points, when I was looking at my points, I said, I don't qualify for Bachelor of Science. He said, you must apply anyway. So I decided to apply for BSc and was not accepted for BSc. So which meant that I needed to now stay at home for the whole year. Okay. So during that whole year, what I did was to continue writing the articles. Remember that I had started at high school, so I continued to write. And then one day I told my grandfather, who was a columnist in the Times of Eswatini, now Times of Eswatini Sunday, Musa Hlope, who was writing. And I told him that I've written a couple of articles and I don't know what to do with them. And he said to me, can you send me the articles? So I sent the articles to him and he said, this is very impressive. He said, I'm taking you right away to the then editor, Mbongeni Mbingo. So he took me to Times of Eswatini and he introduced me as talent. Okay. So he said, I am bringing talent. So they asked me to submit a few of my articles. I submitted them. And then thereafter, I was called and I was told that I now have space in the Times of Eswatini and under the theme. So I chose a theme, the journey of a wise young person.
I see.
So what happened during that time, that's 2019, I started writing for the Times and I became the youngest columnist at the age of 18.
That's nice.
So I wrote those articles. Then a year later, I reapplied at the University of Eswatini.
To continue with your education.
Yes, so I applied, but then I didn't consult my father. I just knew what I need to apply for, which was a bachelor's degree in journalism and mass communication, because I now had exposure in the media and I knew that my passion, is writing. So now it made it easier for me. So that's how I ended up applying for bachelor, BA degree in journalism and mass communication.
That's great. All right, Nkosi. So I understand that you're also part of the UNESCO Enactus team that actually won a gold medal at the World Cup in the USA. So can you share the experience and how it actually prepared you for your career and, of course, your entrepreneurship journey?
Oh yes. The Enactus World Cup is one of the most prestigious competition to attend if you are still a university student. And the journey starts in the projects. So what happens is that if you are part of the Enactus organization, you need to conceptualize entrepreneurial projects that you would do in communities. So the project has to have an impact in the community. It needs to help the community members to earn an income. So we came up with a number of projects, and one of them that really stood out was the miracle candle. We call it the miracle candle. So it was the normal candle, but we added an oil, I think it was a citronella oil, that would repel mosquitoes. And we thought this was a solution for people who were living, in the rural areas who didn't have immediate access to some of the things that you need to protect yourself from malaria. And then we also partnered with the Eduardo Mondlane University in Mozambique. So we crossed the border, on this project. And it's that project that I believe made us to win the national competition, because you started the national competition, you compete there, and then after you win, you then go to the World Cup. And we're privileged that in that year, the World Cup was held at Washington, D.C. And the conference was just not far from the White House. So we got there, and I should say that I was with exceptional students. And when I say exceptional, I mean it. They were exceptional. All the presenters that we were with, they were exceptional, and they are now working for the banking sector. So we got there at the World Cup, and we got to see ourselves at the global stage. And we said that at the global stage, we matter and we can win for the first time. We believed that here that we can win the World Cup as Eswatini.
That's amazing.
So then we ended up falling on the semifinals, but of course we did get a reward for that. And it was so painful, but what was amazing, I think I've got just a moment at the World Cup that I will never forget. So the judges are executives from multinational corporations because they sponsor the World Cup, but they also come and judge in the World Cup. So I saw one executive, he was wearing a suit like yours, a navy blue suit, and then I saw him, he was pulling his bag, and I said to myself, one day I'm going to be like him.
Wow.
So that global exposure that I got whilst at college, I believe that it has shaped how I think, my mindset, positive global mindset. It has shaped my career, my interest, my values, excellence. It contributed a lot.
So, Nkosi, how have you managed to integrate communication skills with brand communication? How do these areas actually intersect?
The intersection happens where effective messaging actually means brand building. So if you are a communications practitioner, on one hand, you need to ensure that you are consistent in your messaging, you design messages that are simple, that are clear, that are concise. But on the other hand, you must be consistent in how you present those messages visually. So you would have your message, let me give an example of an advert, that you have an advert that you want to disseminate, and then you've got the messaging. You are communicating, it's clear. But then the message has to be presented in a graphical form. That is where the brand comes in. That is where the brand identity manual, which is the guidelines for the brand, they come in, because we see a brand through the color, you know that this color is for this brand. You see the brand through the logo, you know that this is the identity, the brand name for the organization. And then you see it through the design theme as well, that you can see that this is the organization. So the intersection really happens when the messaging meets the brand building.
That's great, Nkosi. So throughout your career, you have pursued continuous learning, and of course, including your ongoing MBA studies, and you have more than 10 certifications from prestigious universities like Cambridge. So how have these qualifications actually equipped you in developing you as a leader?
I believe that to lead, you need to build capacity. So you need to build capacity to understand your industry. You need to build capacity to lead people. You need to build capacity to be able to get to the next growth level of your career. So qualifications, especially at master's level, they build your capacity to lead people. For instance, when doing an MBA, you would do organizational behavior. So organizational behavior will tell you that there are 5 stages of team formation. So the first stage is the forming stage. When the team is coming together, you know, you're forming a team, you're hiring people coming into the team. And then the next stage, it is the storming stage, where now there is conflict and there is competition among the team members. And then you move to the third stage, which is the norming stage, whereby they now get to know one another, there is cohesion. And then the fourth stage, you then move also again, you move to the performing stage, whereby the people now start performing. And when they perform, you know, if it's a project, the last stage then becomes the adjourning stage, where now the team disbands. But in a team that you have had in the office and they are continuing to work, that is where you now get a high performing team. So studying enables you to understand those dynamics. You understand organizational behavior, you understand how people think. When there's conflict in the office, you understand that this is a newly formed team and we are still going through the storming stage. So what I would say is that, you know, studies enable you to do what John Maxwell says: a leader is one who knows the way, who shows the way, and who walks the way. So that means that if you've got the capacity that I spoke about to lead, you've got the capacity to be able to know what your industry looks like, you will be able to get people to follow you. And by the way, you can't take people where you have never been.
That's exciting. Because you are giving us really great and amazing nuggets, about life and also about our professional space. Viewers of Young Climber, we will take a short break, and when we come back, we still have more for you as we're seated down with Mr. Lwazi Dlamini. Stay tuned. Welcome back to Young Climber. We are still seated down with Mr. Lwazi Dlamini, who's the lead specialist communications at the Central Bank of Eswatini. We're having a brilliant time. He's just unpacking his professional journey for us. Welcome back, Nkos.
Thank you.
All right, I want us to take it on now to your early life in your career, whereby you became a volunteer in the UN, the United Nations Development Program, and of course, several other NGOs. So I'd love to know, how has your volunteer work contributed to your professional development?
Volunteer builds you. It builds skills. And what I have learned over the years when volunteering, that it also builds your heart and your character. And I want to believe that skills are skills. Whether you develop skills in an NGO or you develop skills in the corporate, but skills are skills. For instance, if you are the secretary in a water project in your community, or you are the secretary in a church committee, or you're a secretary in a corporate, you still need the same skills. So I believe that if you're in an NGO, it gives you an opportunity to develop skills.
Nice. All right. At the Central Bank, Nkosi, you were the technical lead for a website redesign project that won the 2021 Best Central Bank Website Award, a prestigious international award, by the way. In your view, how does a website serve as a face of a brand? And also, what are the key elements for powerful branding and communication as a tool?
A website is the face of the organization. It is where people meet you before they meet you. So what that means is that it introduces you, it introduces the brand of the organization. So a website must make sure that you must make sure when you're building a website that it is accessible, information can be accessed within 3 clicks so that it's convenient. It must be appealing, just like a reception. When you're walking to a reception, it must be an appealing website. You must make sure that it is user-friendly and it's got all the information that a person needs so that they don't even have to come to your organization.
That's great. For almost half a decade, you have contributed immensely as a columnist of the Times of Eswatini Sunday under the theme, The Journey of a Wise Young Person. How was your experience in motivating young people in making wise decisions? And also, actually, what makes a young person wise?
I think from the question you have asked me, this is probably the most interesting.
Of course it is.
Yeah. A wise person is one who fears the Lord. There's a verse we are used to when we are growing up, the fear of the Lord is the beginning of wisdom. So I believe that is what a wise young person is. But more than that, a wise young person is a dreamer, is a believer, is a person who makes the right decision early in their lives and then maintain those decisions for the rest of their lives.
That's amazing. And Nkosi, Eswatini faces a significant challenge with youth unemployment, with rates estimated at 58.2% amongst youth between 15 to 25 years of age. So as a communication specialist, what strategies do you believe could address such an issue? And also, how do we empower young professionals?
I believe that the interventions that can really contribute significantly in solving the unemployment issue is the full development of our entrepreneurship ecosystem as a country. And as you may know, that I'm a thinker and a writer. So one of the series that I've started on LinkedIn, there is a newsletter that I started, the Eswatini Startup Ecosystem. I am pursuing ideas of the red car and the domino effect. So imagine, let me explain the red car theory. Imagine yourself that you want to buy a new car and it's red in color and let's say a BMW. And then as you are walking or driving around town, you will begin noticing a lot of red cars. Not because on the road we now have more red cars, but because you were intentional in saying, now I want to buy a red car. So it is my belief that when we look at the young people, especially those who are business oriented, those who are entrepreneurs, we have got high growth and higher scale startup businesses that can be able to contribute to building the economy of the country, but also create hundreds of jobs. And one of the missions, I said I'm an entrepreneur, that I am pursuing through my company is ensuring that we can discover and present to the world Eswatini's first unicorn. That is a company with an valuation of over $1 billion US. And I believe that if we can get our own Facebook, our own Amazon, we can be able to develop thousands of jobs. And if we get one successful business, that would have a domino effect on the entire African continent. So my belief is that, when we talk of the domino effect in our theory, it speaks to, there is if you're having cards that you have lined up attached to each other and you push one card, all of the cards are going to fall. So it means that if we've got one big success story in our entrepreneurial ecosystem, it will have positive impact across the whole ecosystem. And it is my belief that, as young people, we need to be given opportunities to access alternative funding like venture capital, which would be able to give us money that is willing to fail. Innovation can be funded through grants, but there is a limitation on the grants. There's a limitation on the debt financing. We need to have equity financing for our businesses to be able to grow and scale. I believe that among many other interventions that can be done in solving youth employment, the full development of our ecosystem as Eswatini will result in creating jobs.
That's great. Lwazi, in your career journey, how has networking with people that are above you, higher than you, maybe help you grow and also reach new heights for yourself? And also, what advice can you give to young people in building their network capital?
I think my network capital has been the reason why I have been successful. From way back in college, when I was in college, by the time I graduated, I had worked for 6 companies, volunteered for 4 organizations, and consulted for 4 companies, including designing the Parliament Strategic Plan. So from way back when I was in college, I managed to develop networks. As I was in Enactus, I got to meet CEOs, I got to meet executives. So I believe that if you are having an opportunity to meet with great people, know what to do. Have a business card if you run a business, be able to introduce yourself, be articulate, be able to go and greet someone. And I think also nowadays we've got social media. You can create a social media account on LinkedIn if you are not there, and you are able to just get connections. So those connections you get on LinkedIn help you to build your network capital.
That's amazing, because speaking about social media platforms, let's talk about your Facebook, your Twitter, all these social media platforms. What are the most common mistakes that young people make as they're engaging on these social media platforms? And also, how can they be tools for them to actually help them, in positive communication and also their personal growth?
I think the 4 most prevalent mistakes young people make. One is oversharing. Sharing too much personal information. And always remember, as a young person, if you're sharing personal information, your potential employer is reading that. And then 2, it is impulsive posting. You are emotional. Something has happened, and then you decide to share out of emotion. That defines you. It's your character. I've not met you, so I'll go to your social media page and try and understand what kind of a person you are. And then the 3rd one is lack of digital footprint awareness. That whatever you post on social media will stay there, and it might affect you later on, And then the other one is spreading misinformation, not verifying facts. You are just taking something from online and then you are resharing it. So you must be very careful to not to do that. And then the most common one is comparing yourself with other people. Yeah. Your friends, your peers, where they are posting, they are now married, they now have a new car and all of that. That is also contributing to making you feel like you're not an achiever.
I see. All right, we are in the fourth industrial revolution, Nkosi, and it has transformed the job market. I'd love to understand what careers do you think young people can actually consider relevant in the changing world, and how can they prioritize their skills in that?
I think I am seeing a shift from qualifications to skills. So I would say the trend that I'm seeing now in communication and across other industries is that we are moving to a skills-based labor market, whereby we look at what unique skills do you have that others don't have, and how scarce are those skills in the market. So when we get into an interview, I'm interviewing 4 people. How different are you from the 4 people? Okay. What are the skills? And one of the things I would challenge young people to go and read is the World Economic report, World Economic Forum report, that is talking about skills, the future skills. You look at that report, you look at the skills that you need to develop. Not more on qualifications. Yes, we do need qualifications, but now the trend is that you need to develop, especially those skills that AI cannot replace. And I was laughing this morning when I was thinking of photography. I was like, I don't think AI can replace photography. In a wedding, what AI tool can come and replace photography? I don't think so. The people who are behind the cameras, I don't think their jobs are under threat. But of course, you need, as a communications a professional, to look at those skills that will make you unique, even beyond just those that are within your industry.
I see. Talking about jobs, and course, many people, are struggling with professionalism when it comes to their job applications. You see people using informal email addresses like it's your boy JJ at gmail.com. So I'd love to understand maybe just give us an advice to say, how can young people effectively present themselves when it comes to job applications?
The first thing is to think of yourself as a brand. Lwazi and Dlamini should be a brand. You must protect this brand. You must ensure that you build this brand. Because when they hire you at a workplace, they want to also boost their brand equity. So if you are a brand yourself, you are going to lead to positive presentation of the organization. So what you have mentioned, the emails, from the emails to the picture you have put on LinkedIn, it must be professional. You must demonstrate that you are excellent. And excellence will look at it how you present yourself. I've heard a quote recently that dress how you want to be addressed. So those are the things that you want to ensure that you get in place so that you present yourself as a brand.
That's amazing, Nkosi. Success, Nkosi, usually comes with a lot of challenges and a lot of failures, of course. So I'd love you to share with us just a moment where maybe you faced a major setback in your career, and also how did you overcome that, and also the lessons maybe that you learned from that setback.
I think my setback would be when I applied, after I'd done internship at the central bank, I applied for a job that was open for a communications officer at the central bank. And I did not make it in that interview. And after finishing college, that was my only opportunity, because I had set 3 clear goals. Companies that can hire me in Eswatini, I said it's the UN, is the central bank, and RSSC. I don't know where that was coming from, but those were my targets. And then I failed to get a job at the central bank. And I think it was a setback for me, because I so much believed that I had the skills, the capability to be able to get that job, but I didn't. But God being gracious, the following year I was called back by the UN.
Thank you so much, Nkosi, for having this really wonderful interview with us. We are really thankful for your time here.
Thank you.
All right, viewers of Young Climber, I'm sure you've heard it for yourself, and I'm sure you are really encouraged. You've learned about the journey, the professional journey of Mr. Lwazi Dlamini, and I'm sure you now know exactly what you need to do with your life so that you can also be somebody celebrated, somebody inspirational that we will bring one day here on Young Climber to encourage other young people. Until next time when we meet, goodbye.